Have you ever wondered what you'll regret most when you look back on your life? Now, in my 80s, I realize we've been worrying about the wrong things. Today, I'm sharing the 7 most common regrets people have after 80 years of life, and what you can do differently right now. If you're over 60 and want to make the most of your remaining years, these insights might transform how you live starting today. 1. Prioritizing work over relationships. For decades, I chose productivity over people. I thought I was being responsible. Building security, creating something lasting. But here's what nobody tells you. Those extra hours at work, those weekends spent catching up on tasks, they don't matter now. What crushes me is remembering the birthday parties I missed, the anniversaries I celebrated with just a quick dinner, the phone calls from friends I cut short. I suggest first, create non-negotiable time blocks for the people who matter. Put them in your calendar with the same commitment you'd give a doctor's appointment. Second, practice saying, that can wait until tomorrow. Third, keep a relationship account, the same way you track finances. Who haven't you connected with lately? Who deserves more of your time? If I could go back and change one thing, it would be prioritizing those connections over 1 more hour of productivity, or not taking care of my physical health sooner. I used to joke that I'd rather enjoy life now and worry about health later. What's the point of living longer if you can't enjoy your favorite foods? The joke was on me. It's not just about living longer. It's about the quality of those extra years. Every joint pain, every limitation, every medication I take, many could have been prevented if I'd started caring for my body earlier. What actually works? First, find movement you genuinely enjoy. For me, it was walking with friends and water. Aerobics. It felt more like socializing than exercise. Second, make small food swaps rather than dramatic changes. More vegetables, less processed food, smaller portions. Third, this is crucial. Get regular checkups and actually follow the doctor's advice. The irony is that taking care of your health doesn't restrict your enjoyment of life, it expands it. I wish I could tell my 60-year-old self, you're not too old to start, but you're getting too old to delay. 3. Postponing dreams and adventures. That trip to Italy you've been talking about for 15 years. That painting class you've always wanted to take. What exactly are you waiting for? I had a mental list of things I'd do someday when I had more time. More money when the kids were settled, when the grandkids were older. But that perfect moment never arrives. Instead, your mobility decreases, your energy wanes, or health complications make travel more difficult. The saddest words I hear from my friends are, I always wanted to, followed by something they can no longer do. How to avoid this regret? First, take your bucket list seriously. Choose one item and put a specific date on the calendar within the next 12 months. Second, stop waiting for company. If friends or family can't join, go solo or find a group tour. Third, start smaller if necessary. If you can't manage that trip to Egypt, visit a local museum's Egyptian exhibit while planning for the bigger journey. I put off learning to paint for decades because I thought I'd be terrible. When I finally started at 75, I discovered I loved it regardless of how good I was. Those 5 years of painting joy could have been 25 years if I hadn't waited so long for not resolving family conflicts. We've all experienced those family rifts, the misunderstanding that grew into silence, the inheritance dispute that divided siblings, harsh words spoken in anger never addressed. I carried one such conflict to the grave when my sister passed before we reconciled. The pain of that unresolved relationship haunts me more than any business failure or financial setback. What I didn't understand in my younger years is that pride becomes increasingly expensive as time passes. That argument that seemed so important, from my perspective now, it looks ridiculously small compared to the years of connection lost. My advice: first, be the one to reach out, even if you believe you were right. A simple "I miss having you in my life" can open doors. Second, lower your expectations. Reconciliation doesn't require agreeing on everything or becoming best friends. Third, consider writing a letter. If direct conversation feels too difficult, it gives both parties time to process emotions. I reconnected with my estranged son after 12 years of silence. Is our relationship perfect? No. But the weight lifted from both our hearts was worth every ounce of pride I had to swallow. Holding on to possessions instead of creating experiences. Look around your home. How many items have you kept just in case? Or because they're too good to give away? I spent decades accumulating things: furniture, collections, clothes, books, kitchen gadgets. I thought these possessions represented success or would provide security. Now I realize they became a burden. Not just to me, but to my children, who eventually had to deal with it all. The truth is, after a certain age, we should be in the business of distribution, not accumulation. Every item you keep requires energy to clean, maintain, organize, and eventually dispose of. How to shift from possessions to experiences. First, whenever you're tempted to buy something new, ask if it will bring lasting joy or just momentary satisfaction. Second, for every new item that enters your home, remove at least one, preferably two. Third, this was transformative for me, start giving meaningful items away now, while you can share the stories behind them and see the joy they bring others. I gave my granddaughter my cherished pearl necklace for her 30th birthday. Rather than leaving it in my will, seeing her wear it and hearing how special it makes her feel has brought me more joy than the necklace ever did sitting in my jewelry box. 6. Not practicing gratitude and mindfulness. For most of my life, I lived either in the past, replaying regrets, or in the future, worrying about what might happen. I was physically present but mentally elsewhere during countless precious moments. When I turned 79, a health scare put everything in perspective. I suddenly realized how much beauty and joy I had missed by not being fully present. The way sunlight filters through leaves, the comfort of my husband's hand in mine, the taste of fresh berries, the sound of my grandchildren's laughter. How to avoid this regret? First, start and end each day by naming 3 specific things you're grateful for, not generic items, but particular moments or details. Second, practice what I call sensory breaks. Stop several times daily to fully notice what you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Third, put your phone away during meals and conversations. Nothing steals presence like that little device. I've discovered that gratitude and mindfulness are actually time expanders. When you're fully present, life doesn't pass by in a blur. Each moment becomes richer, deeper, more meaningful. At 83, I'm convinced I've experienced more life in the past 4 years of practicing presence than in the 20 years before that. 7. Not sharing my wisdom and stories. For years, I worried about boring people with my stories or sounding like I was lecturing when sharing life lessons. I kept quiet, thinking nobody would be interested in what an old person had to say. Now I realize that was my ego talking. I was more concerned about how I'd be perceived than about what value my experiences might offer others. The truth is, we are the keepers of history, the carriers of family stories, the holders of wisdom earned through decades of living. When we don't share these gifts, they die with us. How to start? First, record your stories. Use your phone's voice memo feature or write them down. Focus on turning points, lessons learned, and moments of clarity. Second, look for natural opportunities to share wisdom. When someone faces a challenge you've experienced, offer your perspective as an option, not a directive. Third, create legacy projects, photo books with stories, letters to younger family members, or even videos. I started a tradition of wisdom dinners with my adult grandchildren where I share one important life lesson over a meal. These have become treasured times for all of us, and they often tell me they remember my stories when facing their own challenges. Conclusion: as I look back over 8 decades of life, these 7 regrets stand out. Prioritizing work over relationships, neglecting physical health, postponing dreams, not resolving conflicts, accumulating possessions instead of experiences, missing the present moment, and keeping my wisdom to myself. The beautiful thing about being over 60 is that we still have time to make different choices. We can't change the past, but today is still full of possibility. Start with just one area. Which of these 7 regrets resonated most with you? Remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today.